Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to the tournament roundup of the events between August 1st and August the 7th. And holy moly, last week saw pretty much every roster basically getting swooped up by an organization. If they weren't already involved in Overwatch, they probably are now, but there's still a couple floating around that haven't picked up a team yet. Even some unexpected pickups as well. So of course, following on from last week, Luminosity Gaming's former team Mix-Up ended up going to NRG. Considering the rather public tweet from Shark, this isn't too big of a shock. Current lineup includes former Liquipedia dummy as the 6th support, and current early results for NRG look, well, less than incredible. It's kind of sad to see. I think Gods has one of the highest skill ceilings in competitive Overwatch, and Enigma has a solid Tracer who seems to be swinging back into the meta right now on King of the Hill. Of course, Seagull's popularity goes without saying, and he is definitely a capable carry player. It just feels like the team lacks the refinement and the level of play found elsewhere at the highest ends of comp Overwatch. Many smaller organizations also grabbed up a couple of teams, with pretty much all the rosters usually fill out 5th to 16th slots in tournaments getting snapped up. Method picked up One Shot, a middle-of-the-pack American team with some decent results behind them. Players to watch on that lineup include Chronic and Ultima Weapon, Chronic especially being one of the best Reinhardts around. Ninjas in Pajamas picked up the Finnish team SG1, a team I see as kind of a gatekeeper team in the European scene. The top 5 European teams right now, Creation, Reunited, Misfits, Rogue and Luminosity, can all beat SG1 pretty routinely, while Ninjas in Pajamas and Anox basically can beat anyone beneath them. H2K also decided to grab up the team Kids Next Door, or as the community probably more knows it, Esper's team. There really isn't too much to say about this aside from some mild confusion. This is a roster that struggles to make it into the top 8 of tournaments frequently, and I was honestly expecting Oh No or former Northern Gaming Blue lineup Bringos to get picked up well before Kids Next Door did. Who knows, maybe they'll start performing, but I imagine this was just a kind of a cheap team to grab. Moving on to other news, let's talk Gamescom. The tournament itself doesn't begin until the 20th and 21st, but we're all set now for the main event of the ESL Atlantic Showdown. Last week saw the tournament round up its final qualifiers with some great Overwatch matches. I absolutely loved watching this tournament, it was superb. Well done ESL. In Europe we saw a pretty brutal tournament, with Luminosity suddenly popping up as a name that all eyes were on and hoping for them to deliver alongside Anox's recent successes. Things were kind of set up for a spoiler to happen. And then, well, the 4 I predicted last week went through. Misfits, Reunited, Creation and Rogue all making it to Gamescom itself. Being honest, these 4 teams are the best in Europe at the moment. Luminosity does have flashes of genius, and Anox can rely on some of the greatest talent around, but overall the top 4 in Europe are difficult to argue past those 4 teams. Given time, Luminosity can absolutely start to swing their weight around a lot, but they're not going to be a favourite in any matchup against the top of Europe for a little while longer at least. In North America, things are a little more volatile. While European team Envious undoubtedly is number 1, yes, I am going to call them a European team, eyes were on Cloud9 for any signs of weakness, and well, what happened was kind of thrilling. So for a long while, the top of North America has basically been Tier 1 has been Envy, Tier 2 Cloud9, and then Tier 3 were teams like Luminosity, Galforce and Northern Gaming Red. Surely it's not inconceivable that these Tier 3 teams could beat or take a couple of matches off Cloud9, but it was rare and stopped happening a little while ago. The overwhelming majority of Cloud9's losses have recently come from Envious alone, with an upset to TSM not that long ago, but that being the exception. Most of the matches that Cloud9 plays are 2-0s or 3-0s unless they're against Envy. So when Fnatic come out and push Cloud9 to a nail-biting 3-2 series, it looked real damn good for Fnatic. Watching them this week put me firmly on the hype train for that roster. They're not quite there yet, they're not quite at that tier 2 level with Cloud9, and they seem to have a little bit of an overconfidence issue, but seriously, get these guys a team house, get them practicing close together, and they could be absolutely incredible. North America finished up with Envy, Cloud9, Fnatic and TSM making it through, matching my predictions. TSM certainly looking like the weakest team to go to Gamescom, and when they're playing they can look pretty scary, but they frequently just seem to stall out and start struggling. Staying on Gamescom a moment longer, the bracket was announced for the event. From what I can tell, teams were divided into 2 groups and will play a mini double elimination bracket against each other, leaving us with only 4 teams. Those teams then move on to a single elimination bracket for the final day. So basically we have 8 teams, and then we're going to have 4, and then we're going to have our 1 winner, which is probably going to be Envious. Group A is on your screen, and like I said, Envy are the clear favourite. I'm absurdly curious to see how Fnatic stacks up against Misfits in Creation, however. I retain the right to refine my predictions next week, but I think Fnatic and Envy will honestly make it out of Group A, judging from recent performances. Misfits haven't been looking as strong as they have been in the past, and Creation have honestly been struggling a little against some of the top European teams, pretty much losing against them consistently. Flipping over to Group B, I think Reunited and Cloud9 are the teams most likely to push out there. While Rogue can certainly play to a very high peak performance, Reunited have started to find form. Still not as consistent as I'd like, but with the meta shifting even more into Valutage's comfort zone and Kib playing pretty well recently, they're looking pretty solid. There's also rumours bubbling, by the way, that I'm expecting to push out the moment, the very second this video goes live, that TSM might be undergoing roster changes with the TGO brothers dropping the TSM tag from their Twitter. I'm literally reading up on that as I write this. And this is all happening right as they qualify for Gamescom and basically make it through to the Overwatch Open's playoffs. But let's flip over to the Overwatch Open rather than just keep speculating. Week 3 has wrapped up and saw Reunited finally make it through after beating Luminosity in a pretty tense 3-0 series. The scoreline doesn't quite do it justice, and being frank, I think I saw more errors from Luminosity in that series causing them issues than Reunited's pure successes. In North America, Fnatic showed an absolutely insane performance, not dropping a game as they blew through NRG before finishing with a slightly tense final against TSM, but it's fairly clear that it was more Fnatic series to throw rather than TSM's to win. This being said, a number of top teams are also assured playoff spots due to consistent performances over the 3 weeks, as remember, 16 teams do slot into regional playoffs. That said, the top spot from the qualifiers also gets really damn good seeding, so it's going to be exciting to see Creation versus Luminosity next week in Europe and TSM versus Team Liquid fighting out for that top spot. I'm sure there's a Seagull fan or two out there upset that I didn't say NRG fighting for that top spot, but when NRG start to bring results against top teams, I'll start talking about them. But Fnatic really just embarrassed them recently. Beyond the Summit also finished up a little bit quietly in the background, with Envious, Cloud9, TSM and Liquid going up against each other in a big, bold bracket. And with those teams there, the big question of course was who's going to come third, Envy and Cloud9 taking 1 and 2 spots respectively. Liquid managed to beat TSM in the lower bracket before going up against Cloud9, getting pretty much annihilated on Hollywood and Kings Row. Team of the week has to go to Fnatic. Without a doubt, this team is producing results that are pushing up against Cloud9 pretty damn fast. It's going to be interesting to see if they can maintain that level of improvement and keep getting better and better. Player of the week, gonna throw it to IDDQD. A player who should be familiar to anyone who's been following the scene for a while. He was a big part of why Fnatic looked so strong this week. With Tracer and McCree both being a little bit more meta relevant, Tracer especially seems to be swinging back in on King of the Hill. He's looking damn solid. Stream and Twitter are on the screen and the description, and a lot of people follow his stream anyway, so go check that out. Next week, Overwatch Open finishes up its qualifiers, and wow, that honestly might be it for big events. If it is, then I've been neglecting some of the smaller tournaments as King of the Hill events and stuff that run, so we could take a look at those. We'll see. Toodles.